Hello, everyone. My guest today is Nick Mason. His background is in software engineering and product development for customers including LexisNexis and the University of Oxford. He co-founded Turtl with the aim to empower anyone to create beautiful, interactive content, get simple analytics-based insights, and dramatically improve the performance of their content over time. Nick, are you ready to take us to the top?
I am, yeah.
All right. So tell us about Turtl, and it's turtl.co for those of you that want to follow along. But what's the company do and what's your revenue model? How do you make money?
So starting with revenue model, we're a monthly license subscription SaaS business. So we essentially rent our software out to large enterprises to help them solve their marketing challenges. And those, as you said in the intro, really around content. So how we see it is that, large enterprises spend an awful lot of money on content creation and on content marketing, but actually doing that in an efficient way, in a measurable way, and in a way which means that, you're getting the best bang for your buck is not an easy challenge. So our software really helps people to solve that problem.
And you mentioned it sounds like a pure play SaaS model. Give me a general sense. What's the average customer paying you per month?
So average contract value per month is around $2,500 UK.
So you're paying in that kind of mid-market enterprise space then?
Yes, that's right. Obviously, for our larger enterprises, that's where pricing really starts. So for larger enterprises, as they buy more seats and as they buy more features, it goes up from there.
Got it. And when did you launch the company?
2014, summer 2014. Yeah.
And Nick, what's that founding story look like? I mean, were you like on the street, had to make something work, so you did this, or you quit a big corporate gig? What was it?
No, I was doing a lot of consultancy, and it was kind of interesting because several things came together all at the same time. So I became aware of content marketing and the fact that this was a growing area of the market. But whenever I saw the content that people were making, I was really disillusioned with just the way it was presented. So static PDFs, static web pages, and my job at the time was really doing UX. And I kind of thought, like, people are spending all this money, but the results just look really, really bad. At the same time, I was working at University of Oxford on a project for them, web development project, and I came across some really interesting research to do with how we actually consume information and how we retain it and how we engage. So putting all those things together, like obvious growing market, problems as I saw them, and a starting point for solutions in terms of scientific research around how we might actually get people to remember content and engage with it more. Sort of a perfect picture of starting the business. And
how many founders are there?
Two.
So just two of you guys. You split it 50-50 the easy way?
To start with, yeah. We have investors now, and it's obviously got a little more complicated, but yeah.
How much have you raised?
So under $1 million.
Under $1 million, okay.
Yeah, so we're trying to do it, keep control of the company. So everyone who's invested is someone who we know and someone who has a direct impact on the business on a day-to-day basis. So we want to kind of steer clear of doing it the VC way and, try and maintain control and keep it that way.
Did you take on this capital as convertible debt or actual priced equity there on the cap table?
Priced equity, yeah.
Interesting. How did you go about setting and kind of getting a lead investor? Did you have one person that makes up more than 50% of the round?
Yes, I'm trying to remember back in the first round we did. So it was actually a good story. We went in to pitch to this guy
Who was it?
Mark Asprey, one of our investors. So we went in to pitch to him at his former job, and he and his sales director liked it so much that they actually said, well, we want to get involved, and we don't want to buy the product for our current business. We want to buy equity in the product and leave our jobs and come and work for you.
And what year was that?
That would have been in 2015, early 2015.
And scale size, where were you at that point in terms of maybe revenue or your pre-revenue?
We had two customers, so our revenue was about 10K.
Wow, so very early. You must be very charming to walk in and convince two people to quit their jobs and give you money to do it.
I couldn't possibly comment.
All right, and what's the team size today?
So we are split across Slovenia and the UK. So we have 5 in Slovenia. That's our development team. They're great guys. And we have 15 in the UK, but we're hiring quickly and the number changes all the time. So that's probably inaccurate as of 5 minutes ago.
But at least 15.
Yes.
All right. And then what have you scaled to today in terms of total customers you're serving?
So we have in the region of 50 customers, ranging from Bloomberg, Cisco, Oracle, economists, people like that, down to smaller businesses. But our kind of strategy is really to try and get some big names so that other people can follow.
So Nick, is it fair to say at a $2,500 monthly ARPU, you guys are somewhere in the $120K per month range?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's about right. Yeah.
And generally trying to move upstream.
How do you mean? Sorry, larger
Larger
average
accounts.
size?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of interesting. What we found is that if we go in too high to start with, we struggle to demonstrate value quick enough for people to really get what we're doing. So our strategy at the moment is to go in a tiny bit lower and to grow value over time. So, get a beachhead in a company, build up usage, get a critical mass, and then you can start to go to other parts of the business and say, well, look, your colleagues over here are doing this great stuff. How about you take a few licenses as well and trying to basically get a foot in the door and grow. That's our strategy.
Give me an example like Bloomberg, right? When you say grow usage, most companies know the number one usage metric they've got to get people to spend more money with them. What is that number one metric for you?
It actually varies between companies because people have different objectives for their content. So it can be any one of a number of things. So for some companies, it's lead generated. For other companies like Bloomberg, it's going to be insight generated.
What is that? What's an insight?
Well, so for example, through using our technology, people can see how people consume their content on a really, really granular basis. So for Bloomberg's use case, if they're using it in a sales context, being able to send out, a piece of collateral and see, this guy read this page for 5 minutes and skipped over the pricing page, but was really interested in these particular pages about features. That on a very granular level is incredibly valuable to the salesperson. So the downstream effect of that will be that we improve the performance of their sales team, and that will be the metric that they're looking at to work out whether they buy more licenses. So it really varies.
Got it. And Nick, give me a sense of growth. So you launched only 2-3 years ago. You're at about 120 grand a month today. Where were you 12 months ago?
Oh, crikey. Sub 50.
Oh, wow. 50. So you've more than doubled.
Yes, so we're trying to stay on the doubling path. That's our objective.
That's the magic number, right?
Exactly. Yeah, as I understand it.
Yeah. Now, obviously, a key thing to doing that is keeping churn in control. What's your churn look like, and how do you make sure to try and control that?
So I don't have an exact number of churn, but it's always a number which you want to get down. So we've started in the last 6 months doing a proper customer success function, and I think that if I had one thing that I wish we'd invested in a bit sooner, it would have been that. Because it takes time to get up to speed, and it's also a tremendous opportunity for upsell and growing accounts if you're doing that well. So really implementing that and using every trick in the book to get closer to your users, because at the end of the day, those are the people who buy our software. They don't sign the checks, but those are the people who will be demanding more licenses and saying you absolutely must not take this thing away from us. So those are the people who we really need to influence and get good relationships with. So that's something we're investing a lot in.
And I mean, so in the past 6 days, have you lost any customers?
No.
Okay. Do you know yet if you're at net negative churn because you're driving so much expansion revenue?
That's hard to say.
Sure.
I think the idea for this year is that our conservative goal is that the two balance each other out. But we'd like to do a lot better than that because we've got some really big accounts that we can grow. So that's our pessimistic view for this year.
Yeah, I mean, the argument there is if you haven't lost any customers, maybe you're too cheap, right? So what happens if you triple your price? Do you lose customers then?
Really?
What's the tipping point?
Well, the thing for us is is activating all the users. So typically we'll have an account and
a user is a salesperson at Bloomberg.
It depends. Yeah, a user is someone who has access to the tool, like a seat. So
how many seats do you have across the 50 customers right now?
Oh my goodness, these difficult questions.
Like thousands or hundreds?
No, a few hundred. Okay. A few hundred. So really the goal is to get all of those people active, because that's how so if you're coming up to a renewal of a license and someone's got 5 licenses and 2 or 3 people are active, it's kind of like, well, really getting the full value out of this, guys. Whereas what we want to be doing, and we know we can do it, if we put the right resources into the right places to get 5, 6, 7 people using those 5 licenses. Yep. And then when you come to renewal, it's actually a conversation about growing the account rather than just maintaining, and what can we do to drive usage with those 2 users who aren't using it. And that really, to me, is like what will make the business succeed.
This is a really competitive space, content marketing and understanding how to get content spread quicker and find content relevant in a relevant form when you need it. What are you spending to acquire customers?
That is an interesting question. I don't have those numbers to me.
Are you doing any direct paid spend today or no?
Oh yeah. We do a lot of that. I mean, I don't know exactly what it is because it changes on a month to month basis, but we are exploring, as I understand it, pretty much every channel that we
Okay.
can.
I mean, what do you spend? What do you know you spend at least per month on direct paid stuff?
Uh, Probably what are we, like a few thousand more than that?
Okay, a couple thousand, not a ton.
6,000, 7,000.
7,000. Okay. And you're testing, when you say testing every channel, you're talking Google ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, things like that.
Yeah, and also some offline channels, direct mail, things like that. Trying to do things differently. I mean, one of the things that we hear a lot, we're quite fortunate in that we've got some really good relationships with some quite senior marketing people, at least in the London community. And one of the things they say to us is, just trying to be different. The kind of people we're trying to reach, CMOs, as you say, are bombarded by, however many emails, however many messages. So something as simple as sending something thoughtful in the post, has had a good impact for us. So we're always trying to find those angles where the yields outweigh the outlay, and you get a better return.
That's right. I mean, so yeah, like on a $6,000 spend in a given month, I mean, how many new customers will you add in a month? 1, 2, 3?
So it depends. It depends on the size of the customer, but yeah, 2 or 3.
2 or 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
And throughout the course of the year, that's going to ramp up, and we're going to be sort of looking at 4 or 5.
Yeah. I mean, look, if $6,000 a month is driving, call it 2 customers, I mean, you could kind of roughly back into a $3,000 CAC, which, right, it sounds like you get paid back pretty immediately if the initial price point is $2,500 a month. I mean, is that generally accurate?
Yeah, that's basically the picture.
Yeah. It's always tough. It's not tough, but in your model where there's a small sample cohort of customers, in other words, you're not one of these customers charging $10 a month and you have 10,000 customers. So your cohort analysis is tough because it's such a small sample size.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very, as you say, it's very, very difficult to really analyze and get to the bottom of how things work, because one channel could deliver 3 leads one month and then nothing else that's just how it works. We do, like I'm saying as well, we do a lot of offline stuff. So we do a lot of events, we go to a lot of trade shows. The thing as well that really drives leads for us, is one of our biggest lead generators, is customers' content. So we, Bloomberg or whoever will send out a piece, and at the very end, there's a very small advert for us, like a tiny little button, and we get quite a substantial number of leads from that as well. A good source.
Interesting, very cool. What percentage of new leads per month come from that branded piece, the powered by you?
I think it's probably 30 to 50% in any given month.
That's pretty consistent with others that do kind of branded powered by X. They usually see 30 to 50% come from that. So that's smart, and it's free, which is nice. All right, Nick, let's wrap up here with the famous 5. Number 1, what's your favorite business book?
A recent one that I read called Play Bigger. Play
Bigger. Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
Not following or studying exactly, but I was reading recently about John Mackey, who is the CEO of Whole Foods. I like the sound of him.
Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building a business?
At the moment, given the customer success focus, I really like Intercom.
Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
4 or 5, maybe 5.
Yeah. All right. And what's your situation? Married, single, you have kids?
2 kids, yeah.
2 kids. So married and 2 kiddos. How young are they?
That's a very good question. One's coming up for 3. The other one is 2 months, nearly 3 months.
That explains the 5 hours of sleep.
Exactly, yeah.
And how old are you, Nick?
33.
All right, last question. Take us back 13 years. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
So what I wish I knew?
Yeah.
The advice that I give is to have kids younger. I would have had kids at 25, because I think it helps you focus and see make sure things are important. And
There you guys have it from Nick from Turtl, Agile Content Marketing. He would have had kids earlier. The company's doing well, launched in 2014. They've raised less than $1 million, currently serving 50 customers that pay about $2,500 a month, which generates about $120,000 in monthly recurring revenue. That's up well over 100% year over year. They were doing about $50,000 a month just 12 months ago. Churn is around 0. They're just now driving and kind of looking at what that analysis looks like. But generally speaking, spending about $6,000 per month to acquire 2 new customers, $3,000 CAC, and payback's obviously very quick if they're paying $2,500 a month. Team of 15, all based in UK. Nick, thank you for taking us to the top.
Thank you very much, Nathan.